Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ and Addison here to help guide you through the playoffs because you shouldn't have a trade deadline. Sorry. I said it quietly just so, maybe people who like trade deadlines didn't hear, but I'm explaining it at a somewhat normal level so it ruins the entire reason for whispering. My bad. Okay, but even still, I think even if you do have a trade deadline, I always think it still is interesting to see what's going on in the rest of the world because you should still have an idea of the value of the players on your team because the second that championship game ends, your trading should go back on.
Right.
I get not wanting trading during the playoffs if that's what you want to do, but there is no reason that Tuesday, if you have a good commish, Monday at midnight Eastern Standard Time, clicks back on, after the last game of the championship, or no less, especially Tuesday or Thursday, whatever it is, whenever scores solidify on your platform. So yeah, right away. So you can be ready to make some moves, even if you can't make them now. Here are some players. What we're doing this show are players that are going to, we believe, lose some value between now and the next season. And I mean, spoiler alert, they're probably all going to be running backs because that just is so easy. So maybe we have to do, we'll have to try and find a specific wide receiver show for a little bit later. The first one is, if you do not have a trade deadline, I think is someone to try and trade away now because David Montgomery has a pretty decent schedule for the next 2 weeks. That offense is moving. It's not moving greatly, but, running back behind a mobile quarterback, especially one as mobile as Justin Fields has finally been let to be, is very valuable. He'll be able to score points. He's been putting up 20-plus points for the past 2-3 weeks. So he is... Oh, wait, no, I looked this up last night. From weeks 12 to 15, he is like the running back 5, I think it was.
Sounds about right.
The last couple of games, he's been doing really, really well. The reason I looked that up was to see just how high Jerick McKinnon was, and he is the running back 3 in those weeks. So, but back to what we're supposed to be talking about, David Montgomery. The first trade we have is 12-team Superflex, where someone traded David Montgomery and Zonovan Knight, because Zonovan Knight is a tradable asset, for DJ Moore. And David Montgomery coming in at 150, Zonovan Knight 24. For a total of 174, DJ Moore coming in at 307. I'm going to ask you questions before I ask you what you think of this trade.
Okay.
DJ Moore has, we'll call it, been a little bit of a disappointment. Since he came in, he was one of those players talked as elite after the catch, elite in open space, and the Panthers haven't seemed to care at all.
Sure.
So we always have this hope because, well, first of all, he's been in the league for 4 years now, and he's 25. He's still young. But do you think at 25, on a team that shows they don't seem to want to invest in quarterback much right now, do you think the ceiling can get higher for DJ Moore realistically in the next year or two to raise him past this wide receiver 2?
No, I think he is what he is at this point, outside of something crazy happening in the Panthers.
Yeah, which is why I say within reason, because we can't really account for crazy things.
Right. Outside of the Panthers trading for an amazing quarterback or trading away DJ Moore, which it seems like they don't want to do. They weren't willing to do that this year at the trade deadline. I think that he's just going to be exactly what he has been, which I just need him to get targets. That's all I really need him to be, is just a player who gets 140 targets every single season, and we should be fine overall for fantasy. He'll have spike weeks, he'll have bad weeks, but overall he is what he is, and I honestly think that that's fine, and he's still an asset that I would be willing to go out and pay for, especially if you're able to get him at discounted prices like you do in this trade.
Like this, just to put it out there, he's averaging 11 points per game, and that does include 2 weeks ago where he scored 0.6 points. I'm assuming he got hurt. I mean, it was against the Seahawks, so you think I should have probably know this, but he has one rush for 6 yards, and that's it on the game.
Yeah, I think
so maybe if you take that away, it'll put him up to 11 or 12, but still, we're still talking wide receiver 3 at best. He's right now wide receiver 45 in points per game, one spot behind Rondale Moore. So we got 2 Moores in a row. Yeah, I like the idea of having DJ Moore on my team because he's very talented. I like having talented wide receivers on my team because usually we like to think with the wide receiver position, talent wins out. Mm-hmm. But I think we see the ceiling on DJ Moore is not what we hoped it would be. But at this price, that would probably put value-wise DJ Moore as your wide receiver 3, 4 on your team. So if you can pay this price, have someone with the ceiling of being a decent wide receiver 2 in a decent offense, because he has been pretty much that for the past 5 years, 4 years, whatever. And this season was just such a write-off for the Panthers. That did not go well whatsoever. So this, yes, I would absolutely do this because I think it is good for your team, especially if you are in the situation where maybe you just got knocked out of the playoffs and you don't need David Montgomery anymore, or you didn't make the playoffs and you still have him sitting there for some reason, and you decided now to go look at those playoff teams to see who you can grab something from. DJ Moore isn't helping their lineups much right now, but 25-year-old decent wide receiver that we've seen do pretty well is good for a non-playoff team's roster. So I love this. On the other hand, I don't think I sacrifice DJ Moore for 2 games of David Montgomery. Of course, in the end, you will always hear the phrase "winning is always worth it." This is a little tough for me to swallow.
I don't know how much this is going to help you win, right? I mean, let's say that you were the team that had Jonathan Taylor, and you had a first-round bye with JT maybe, and so now
Jonathan Taylor on your team, you had a first-round bye.
Well, okay, but so there are other ways. You had a first-round bye, or you had JT and you survived. One of the two. So you're coming into this week without JT. You're looking around and you're like, you know what? I could probably go buy David Montgomery from this team that just got eliminated last week, or this team that didn't make the playoffs, and I have to give up DJ Moore. But when you look at David Montgomery, they play the Bills this week. Not sure that's going to help you. Khalil Herbert is also expected to return this week. Not sure how that's going to help you.
Oh, yeah, that is this week. Nah, dang.
Yeah, so sorry. David Montgomery, I think some people might just look at the box score and be like, Monty scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. Right before, when the first week, whenever Herbert was out, right before their bye, he did really well. Week after their bye, did really well. At least for fantasy. And so now I might be wanting to go and buy a cheaper running back in David Montgomery to help me win and, fill that gap. And I don't think that's necessarily going to do it for you.
Okay, let's move on to the next one because there's a lot going on here and it's fun. So this trade is Marquise Brown, David Montgomery, and Khalil Herbert, which I'm not a fan of trading for backfields, but that's not the point. For Cooper Kupp, a 23 second and a 23 third. What's interesting is when I was listing players of who's going to go down in value, I put both Montgomery and Cooper Kupp on that list. So I want to just go get Hollywood and call it a day.
Wow.
See, here's my thing.
All right.
Cooper Kupp, he's a 30-year-old wide receiver who clearly scores very well, but
clearly
he does not hold value in the non-point scoring season. You couldn't get a first for Cooper Kupp before the season started.
Did you see his December ADP? He's the wide receiver 15.
Exactly. Well, he's hurt.
I mean,
yeah. I love mock drafts because I love ADP, but it's way too situational. The Cooper Kupp should not have fallen that far. But also think about what happens once the rookies come in. Regardless of how well he scores before the season starts, he's going to get pushed down by another 3 spots at least, just because we're going to put rookies in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I don't mind the drop to wide receiver 15. I think that's the narrative all season is going to be he is 30 years old. He's coming off of a semi-major-ish injury. Who's his quarterback? Because they're having a whole, Matthew Stafford might be done because of his injury.
I think they shelved him. I don't know.
I think they did too.
Which I don't blame them.
But these are all just variables in the large equation of, I think this is the Cooper Kupp value that we're going to see going into the offseason. I think that he is going to be a mid to back end wide receiver 2 for Dynasty. And I'm buying at this price. I'm buying the crap out of Cooper Kupp here, because I don't view David Montgomery as a long-term asset. I don't even know what he's going to do in March. Is he going to be on the Bears? Is he not going to be on the Bears? Is he going to sign somewhere else and be a 1B like Melvin Gordon did with Javonte? Is Khalil Herbert then, if Monty's gone, is Khalil Herbert the guy? Are they going to bring somebody else in? Because they have a lot of free agent money. They have a lot of cap space. They have draft picks. What is Khalil Herbert the guy, or is he in the same situation? Are they both in the same situation as they are in right now if they just re-sign Monty? Either way, I just want Cooper Kupp in the second. I think if it was just Cooper Kupp, I would be more inclined to take the Hollywood side. But the fact that this is Cooper Kupp and a mid-second, that to me is the difference maker, and I'm going to take that side.
The thing is, you're right. The right answer is everything that Addison just said. It really, really is. Like, okay, no. Bias aside, because I just saw Hollywood and just give me Hollywood. And not to mention, he is going to be without Kyler for the first few months of the season. Maybe the answer is pretty easily Cooper Kupp, now that I'm actually pulling down that mask of Russ likes this guy. If you are doing this to be able to move Cooper Kupp, I think it's a dangerous game. If you want to be able to play Cooper Kupp because you think it doesn't really matter who his quarterback is, he's going to be fine, this is great because you're getting the second on top of an old player. And that's what you want to do, especially when you're giving away young players. Even though we weren't actually talking about Cooper Kupp, we're going to use Cooper Kupp to transition into our next player, who is a wide receiver who, again, is another player who doesn't hold he doesn't even hold value ever for some reason. But we're going to talk about Mike Evans. I am not worried about Mike Evans for next year.
Oh, interesting.
He is what he is. Why? What's different?
Brady retires.
Cool. He was the Dynasty wide receiver 1 or 2 with Jameis Winston.
Well,
say what you want. Winston was never actually good at football.
No, but he was good for fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. And
who's not good for fantasy?
There, who learned from Arians, which means they're bringing in someone of a similar ilk to Winston, someone who's going to chuck the ball. And that's what Evans needs, because he's big and fast and falls down after he catches the ball.
I'm nervous about Mike Evans. And what's really funny too is that his value is already depleting really rapidly. He's the wide receiver 30 in December ADP.
That's ridiculous. I mean, he's not scoring great right now, but he was the entire season up until 2 weeks ago. And last season he was also very good. But let's get into the trades. 12-team Superflex, like I said before, transitioning with Kupp. Evans straight up for Cooper Kupp. If I don't need points, I'm doing this all day for Cooper Kupp.
I'm doing it regardless if I need points or not. Like you just said, Mike Evans isn't really producing. You could throw DJ Chark in there and you could get 90% of what Mike Evans is doing.
Let's not exaggerate, because I think DJ Chark had 1.6 points last week. But yeah, Evans the past 3-ish games has only been averaging around 10 to 11 points at most. That's rough. So yeah, that's not super hard to replace from their bye in week 11. 5 points, 10 points, 8 points, 13. It's not bad. It's very, very replaceable, and Mike Evans should be scoring you more. So that does also feed into the fact that, yeah, even if you are competing, you can probably pretty easily replace Evans, and then you are just bolstering, hypothetically, your team for next season by putting Kupp in there.
Some people might see this trade and they'd be like, this is a little like who's trading Mike Evans and like who's trading Cooper Kupp for Mike Evans, basically. But
someone who didn't mean to make the playoffs.
Well, but I saw this trade. Like I was going through Mike Evans trades on the trade finder, and I saw this. This happened like a week ago, and I was like, that's probably not good enough. And I scrolled down a little farther. I saw it 4 more times in different variations. It was like Mike Evans and Alec Pierce for Cooper Kupp in a third, or it was like those kind of trades. But like essentially at the core of about a handful of deals since Thanksgiving, it's been Mike Evans for Cooper Kupp ever since Cooper Kupp got hurt. And I'm just taking this. Maybe this isn't like what you do with Mike Evans, but I'm taking this as a sign as I need to go try to acquire Cooper Kupp. I just don't want to be holding Mike Evans either. That's the other thing too. I don't want Mike Evans going in this. My fear is that he gets Adam Thielen. Of just like,
his value is dying. It's practically dead. You are not going to be able. Yes, 1000%. He is Thielen at the moment already. He's going to have no value in the non-point scoring season, and then you'll probably be lucky to get a second in the season. Like we are past the point in life where Mike Evans is worth a first, which makes this next one pretty interesting. Someone traded Mike Evans and Tony Pollard for a late 23 first, Jerry Jeudy, and a 23 third. I would rather have Jeudy over Evans and a first over Pollard.
That's exactly where I'm at as well.
Jeudy has weirdly been doing well, and even that was before Cortland Sutton was missing time. And I'm good. I traded for a Jeudy share pretty recently, and I have been trying every once in a while. I don't want to make it too obvious, but like I've been throwing out Jeudy trades in a bunch of leagues because he's really, really good. He's doing pretty well in a very bad offense. And I'm still just crossing my fingers in a year he gets moved. Wait, 2020, 21, 22, 23, and hopefully they don't take his option. So like after next season, assuming it's silly to take a wide receiver option, just let him walk away. And he's free. He's good. He is what, 22? 3. He is 23. Sorry, camera. I didn't mean to get that wrong. I got it wrong and you went blurry on me. So yeah, I am all about this other side of the trade. Tony Pollard is doing well. I still can't bring myself to pay first for him. I still can't bring myself to believe he will have much value in the non-point scoring season.
We were just talking about Mike Evans's current production this year. And if Jerry Jeudy and Mike Evans are producing similarly right now, why not just take the guy that's 6 years younger?
I think like this has the feel of someone who may not have actually looked at scores. Like has not
or is looking at scores and only looking at Tony Pollard's scores.
That can also be fair. Like that's really what this feels like, because you stop and you think Broncos are terrible. You stop and you think, well, Brady's still the quarterback. So, you would put maybe Evans above Jeudy, but I mean, I don't know how much of a different, oh man, again, arbitrarily week 12 to week 15. If you had to guess what wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is, what would you guess?
21.
If you had to guess what Mike Evans was, what would you guess?
33.
Mike Evans is wide receiver 49. Wait, hold on. I have to hit the average button. Oops. Mike Evans in these past few weeks is wide receiver 58. And do you want to try again on Jerry Jeudy?
No. Should I? He's 8.
He has 19.5 points per game. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm going across.
He had the 3 touchdown game. That's why.
10.5, 33, and 14.6. But I mean, man, turn that into another 12-point game to take the average of his 2 other games. It's still 2 to 3 points over per game over Evans, which isn't deal breaker or anything. But like you said, 6 years difference, scoring similarly enough. It should put Jeudy easily over Evans.
Yeah. And then you're taking the first over Tony Pollard. But this is, I think, exactly what you want to do. If you have Mike Evans and you're sitting there hearing us say, don't take Mike Evans into the offseason because he's not going to have any value. and you're asking yourself, all right, what should I do with him? You need to pair Mike Evans with the shiniest toy that you possibly can.
That really doesn't have real value, but has
and
production / Twitter hype value.
Exactly. Like, I would love to, if you had like Mike Evans and Christian Watson, and you can go and get, like Garrett Wilson or, DK Metcalf or somebody like that. I would absolutely love to do that. Find the shiniest thing on your roster, pair that with Mike Evans, go get yourself an upgrade.
Davante Adams is good at football.
Very.
Not under discussion whatsoever. Davante Adams is 29 years old, turning 30, I believe, before next season begins.
He turns 30 on Saturday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Christmas Eve.
Ugh. That's the worst. Then you get joint presents. Ugh. But the show. Quarterback could be in flux. I believe they're just going to restructure Carr's deal and keep him there, especially after bringing Adams there because Carr is there.
Sure.
But still, it's a little bit in flux. There's a lot that goes into Davante Adams and his value, and none of it has to do with that he's good at football. It's all of those other things I listed. He's only tradable because he's that good at football. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about some trades. Hold on, let me just scroll up to see what kind of leagues these are. 12-team Superflex. This is a weird one. Saquon Barkley and Davante Adams. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces in the asset in the deal. So Saquon and Davante Adams for Jonathan Taylor, a 24 first and second and 23 third.
This happened yesterday.
I have thoughts on this, but first, Saquon 618, Davante Adams 523 for a total of 1140. Jonathan Taylor 723, the 24 first 257, 90 for the second, and 48 for the 23 third for a total of 1118.4. If I had a team that had Jonathan Taylor on it, I want him gone. He is the running back one right now, maybe. But let's face it, Bijan Robinson is the running back one. He will be the second we are allowed to have him in MFL. The second he'll be part of ADP and all of that stuff. So to be able to move off of Jonathan Taylor and to get two studs like Saquon Barkley and Davante Adams, I like that idea. Adding a first to it makes me not as great. Even if it is a 24 first, like I would much rather, because to me, Jonathan Taylor is the best piece in this deal, even though let me do it one more time. So like I think I stare at this like if I have Jonathan Taylor on my team and someone sends me Saquon and Adams, first of all, if they're in the playoffs, I accept this without thinking about it.
Yeah,
just to put that out there, because as much as I am upset with Davante Adams, he's still Davante Adams and has the chance to go for 40 points. It's his birthday. Players do well on their birthdays. Narrative Street, baby.
Birthday narrative.
Yeah, it's there. On the other hand, if I'm rebuilding or I got kicked out of the playoffs like I just did, and do I send Adams and Barkley for Taylor and those picks? Okay, so what you are telling me that Jonathan Taylor needs to get healthy. He needs to that's all he needs to do personally. He needs to get healthy.
It should be fine.
To reshore up their offensive line and get a quarterback that is just better than what they have. Like
that's not too difficult.
But we saw how much better this offense was with Carson Wentz. And they go down to Matt Ryan and look how bad the offense looks. This is saying that you have to have faith in the Colts organization. And then you have to believe that your league mates agree that Jonathan Taylor is probably going to be the running back too. Value-wise, for this to be close to worthwhile for me. Like, I honestly don't think I send away these studs for Taylor and those picks. I would, if it were a wide receiver of the same value, I'd be saying yes without thinking about it. Like, if that was Jalen Waddle, I would do it.
For sure. Yeah.
But Jonathan Taylor,
I think JT is going to be fine next year.
That's the thing. That's not a fine price.
That's true. That's true. This is a lot. And this is one of the reasons why I threw this one in here, because it doesn't necessarily scream you should be selling Davante Adams for this kind of price. But I thought it was really fun because we're talking about 3 like really awesome players.
Yeah.
But it does give you a little bit of the analyzer says that this is very fair. And it's just a matter of, do you want to take a little bit more age on, but maintain as much production as they're giving you in Saquon and Davante? Or do you go for Jonathan Taylor, who we've seen be elite of the elite, and get, a 24 first and second? I think if that was a 23 first and second, I'm all like, that's so much easier.
Yes.
That's way easier.
If you're telling me that is mid to
It feels like 109 and 209, I'm in. I'll take that. But this is really, really tough because I feel like I am in most cases just going to take the Saquon and Davante side.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like there's just a little bit more known there. You're not waiting another year for the firsts to gain value and stuff. And maybe you can individually trade both of them. Like, I feel like you could just do Saquon plus a second and go get JT if you really wanted to make that move, and then do Davante for a couple firsts, and then you're, it's different asset.
Call Davante a first and a second, and Saquon in a second for Jonathan Taylor, and I still think you walk out feeling probably better than this in the end.
Probably.
So the next trade is Davante Adams and Kirk Cousins for Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Davante Adams, 523, Kirk Cousins, 340 for a total of 864. Kyler Murray, 715, DeAndre Hopkins, respectable 294 for a total of 1,009. So Analyzer is very much in favor of the Kyler side. Tough to take into account Kyler's injury because, like we said before when we were talking about Hollywood, he's best case scenario, probably coming back late October, early November.
Probably, yeah. That's halfway through the year.
I mean, yeah. Like, imagine just getting him being not even just getting him. Imagine starting to be able to trust him in your lineups at like week 12 or 13. That will be great if you have a good team already, and then all of a sudden you get Kyler, like everyone tried to do with Deshaun Watson. Even though completely ignoring that the dude hasn't played in 2 years and he's going to be pretty rusty about it. But besides the point, like that's awesome. If you can buy Kyler on the cheap on a good team, it is a great move to do, which seems like this might be what it is because they were willing to bring on Hopkins as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just taking a step back and looking at the trade itself, I think I take the Davante side, even though it is lower in the analyzer. I love Hopkins, hashtag Team Clemson, big wide receiver. Kyler's very good. Davante Adams is very, very good. Kirk Cousins is always going to do well. Like, I think I should be able to do better trading away Kyler, even with the injury. And that's what makes me want to not take Davante Adams and Kirk Cousins to send them away, but like, if I had to choose a side of this that I just liked more, it's going to be Adams and Cousins.
I think this is a really good trade to go and acquire Kyler Murray. To be able to enter the top 10 of quarterbacks in Superflex with this kind of price, I think I think this is a really, really strong deal. And Kyler's definitely the player to go and do that. I don't think you could do this anymore for Trevor Lawrence with the way that he's been producing lately. I don't think that you could do this for Justin Fields. I don't think
Lawrence at this point.
You could probably do this for Tua, maybe.
I can see that,
especially because he sucked the past 2 weeks. But whatever. But I think this is a good way to go. And if you are a team that is ready to kind of start tearing down, or at least reloading in a couple of different ways, I would be 100% willing to send away Davante Adams and Kirk Cousins to solidify Kyler, especially if Kyler is your QB2. You already have a Herbert, a Burrow, a Lamar, a Mahomes or an Allen, and then you're able to go and get Kyler Murray to upgrade Kirk Cousins as your QB2 for longevity, for rushing, for all that kind of stuff, I'm totally on board with this price. I probably would not have went straight for DeAndre Hopkins. I probably would have been like 24 first instead of great. Hop. But if he was like, nah, it's either going to be like Hopkins or my 202, I'd be like, I'll just take Hopkins. Yeah. And just, we'll see what happens next year or anything like that. Or if you actually start producing, then you have the stack and you're good to go for the second half of the year next year.
Yeah, I know I talked in a lot of circles before when I was trying to talk this out, but I'll say it plain. If you're talking about value and if you have patience, the answer is Kyler and Hopkins. Even though, like Addison just said, Hopkins isn't the best piece to go along with this. But I still think I feel better. I feel great looking at my team if it has Cousins and Adams on it. Especially if I'm still playing, I feel fantastic having Cousins and Davante Adams on my team.
That's for sure.
Even though Adams has not really helped the past 2 weeks, but still, he's very, very, very good. We've talked about that. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. So we're going to move on now because did you find Cooper Kupp for every single player we talked about?
Listen, man, the only reason why I threw in that Cooper Kupp trade was because I saw it again and I'm like, listen, this is the point of this is the theme of the show is to buy Cooper Kupp because this is ridiculous.
Davante Adams got traded for Cooper Kupp and a late second. Davante Adams 523, Cooper Kupp 448, and the second is 96 for a total of 543. So this is fair. If I am crying like I am right now because I lost in the playoffs after purchasing my share of Davante Adams last week, I would be pretty happy getting Cooper Kupp in a second, giving him to a playoff team who can either go and score points or go and lose like I did because of him. Well, not just because of him, but he didn't help. I'm so sad I lost. One league. I lost in one league, and it was that league. All right.
Do you have anything? Sometimes having a trade deadline or not having a trade deadline doesn't
shut
always
your
work
mouth.
out.
Whatever you're about to say, Addison. No. And even still,
for the people out
trade
there,
deadline should be the kickoff of playoffs. I made this trade before the kickoff of the playoffs. So,
see, you went in with the team. You slept in the bed that you made, and you still lost. Sometimes it don't.
It's just not meant to be. Clearly, it has nothing to do with me because I'm so good at this game. But it's random sometimes. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
So you're taking Kupp in a second, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So we are moving on to, if it has never been said before, which it has said literally over 200 times, I have a trading problem. And it gets kind of worse in the playoffs because your team can always be better. It's like, stop and think about guillotine leagues. You draft a great team. It does not matter because there are new players to be added into the player pool every single week. Every single week, a team gets eliminated. Their players get dropped into the player pool. It's like that in the playoffs. These teams come into the playoffs, chances are doing the crap that I did and buying Adams and Hopkins and the like. They lose, and then they're doing what I try and do and trying to move away Adams and Hopkins. So, Derrick Henry, manager, gets booted from the playoffs. I send him Christian Kirk and a 24-second for Derrick Henry. He rejects that because he's a big poopy head and counters with Derrick Henry and a third for Christian Kirk, a late 23 seconds and a 24 second. Derrick Henry has a very good schedule the next 2 weeks.
I believe he's running for 250 yards this week.
And Derrick Henry is very good in the cold. I like Christian Kirk a lot. He has sort of taken a back seat to Zay Jones lately, though they're playing the Jets. So if Sauce ends up on Zay Jones, maybe Kirk has a good game. I don't know who I'd feel safe playing. Anyway, besides the point. This is interesting because Derrick Henry 376, the 23 third is 48 for a total of 424. Christian Kirk 212, the second at 96 and the 24 second at 90 for a total of 397. So this even has the Derrick Henry side winning in the analyzer. Do I just accept this and take Derrick Henry and run away?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm taking Derrick Henry on this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what I don't even know. You know what? I'm not going to think about it. There, I just accepted it.
Good. You want me to make you feel better?
I never have picks on this team, so it was my second, so I'm hoping it's the 212. But like I had a second and I was excited about it, so I didn't want to give it up. But no, this was absolutely the right move.
I was gonna say, do you want me to make you feel better? I could give you a little bit of extra confidence in this.
Hit me.
Hey, congratulations on making the championship. Derrick Henry plays the Texans this week, and
no, I know.
50 yards and 3 touchdowns. So A, you made the championship on this move. B, Christian Kirk has been on my list of players that I don't want to take into the offseason, or at least I don't want to take into the draft, because I think Kirk's value is going to take a hit because they're getting Calvin Ridley back. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if they take Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, they probably should take an early wide receiver.
Right. I think a lot of teams are seeing the give my franchise quarterback a boatload of weapons and we do really, really well. So they did that already with Calvin Ridley. I would not be surprised if they do that again in the first round with this rookie wide receiver class.
I mean, their defense needs a whole lot of help, but
yeah, but that can come later. But yeah, so if that does happen, Kirk is relegated back to where he was in Arizona.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Which is not fantastic. If that second is the 212, honestly, even with the fact that where you are at right now, you're guaranteed to be the 209 or later. So yeah. I can tell you from having just done a rookie mock draft with Justin, that will be coming out tomorrow if you're watching this on Thursday. The late second is horrible, bro. Like the drop off, I mean, it is for a lot of classes, but I feel like more people had more confidence in the depth of this class. It's not there. Like we're gonna be pining for people that were drafted in day 3. You know, it's not gonna be fantastic, just like it wasn't for the past like couple years. And then the 24 second is, you know, what is that a year out too? So I think this is a fantastic move to go get Derrick Henry, and I don't think he's going away anytime soon. So you're just gonna have Derrick Henry again next year, and you could just go win your championship again next year.
Yeah,
congrats, back-to-back champions on this one move.
Before I get way too far in my head and before I miss even more work because we've been going for a while, DLF Trade on the DLF YouTube channel, Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. Good luck in your playoffs. And again, since you watch this, you're clearly still going. So we'll catch you next time when you win this round also.